creating a new identity for myself and living under a false authority and a false identity for pretty much all of my life, except for one time period. And I'm going to talk about that. I'm Queen with Soft Eye Boutique, here to talk about something that I have actually been actively working through, not only with a spiritual advisor, but with group therapy with a licensed professional. She's not even a licensed professional counselor, a licensed clinical master's of social work, and also doing in-depth group therapy for specific causes and trauma that I went through, and how I went my entire life living under false authority and living a false identity that I really believe was my true identity. So if you've been following Soft Eye page for a while, thank you all so much. We hit 50 subscribers. We're steadily growing. So that means that a lot of people are listening to me. So that is something that I have struggled with for a long time in my life, because I always felt that when I would speak out about things, that people would listen to me, and they didn't. People would silence me, and they did. Or people would act like that I was crazy or some type of psychopath, which they did treat me. Well, not a psychopath, but mentally ill, which they did treat me that way. So I suppressed myself. And so only when I would speak out about things that benefited them would I receive that, I guess you can call it reciprocity, back. But when I started speaking and living in my truth, then that was an issue. But now I don't really have that problem, because I just decided to 100% be myself and just allow the people who are going to be attracted to what I'm saying and the message that I am delivering to you all to come into my reality. So thank you all so much for watching this. So I want to get into the false identity and the false authority that I have been living under all of my life, that I honestly, truly, wholeheartedly believed was the right thing. Okay. And that's who I really was. So for all of my life, just to give a quick background, I'm black. Okay. If you have been following my page, I am the first generation who was not born or raised on a plantation. I know it's crazy because I'm a millennial, but that is a part of, I'm like really close to the plantation. Didn't have to sharecrop or anything. But my dad, he wasn't born on a plantation, but he lived on a plantation when he was a little boy for a couple of years. My paternal grandparents, definitely my paternal grandfather and my paternal great grandfather, they were born on plantations, lived on plantations, sharecropping, all of that. Paternal grandmother dealt with that as well. My maternal grandfather, I think he may have grown up into sharecropping. So the only one who didn't grow up in that was my maternal grandmother. But that's the part of the lineage that I have a problem with. So my maternal lineage, they're not as connected like my direct maternal lineage. They're not as directly connected to the plantation as my paternal side is, or as my mom's her paternal side is connected to the plantation. But my direct maternal lineage is where all of the abuse and trauma come from. So they were technically, I guess maybe you can say, free people of, free black people, or black people who had means. So I didn't grow up, and I remember I literally had this conversation 2 nights ago. I didn't know what rent was until about the age of maybe 9 or 10, because my maternal lineage, they've always owned property. They've always owned homes. And so there was always homes for people to live in. So all you had to do literally was pay utilities, the taxes, things of that nature. So I wasn't really born into that. I remember, and this is a funny story because y'all know I do check people. I do tell them about this stuff. I think this camera kind of crooked, but it is what it is. Y'all still gonna get this message. Sorry for putting my hand on in this camera. But I never forget, I was talking to somebody, not in a romantic way, it was a professional way. They had their PhD. We were talking about where we were from in Louisiana. I said I'm from New Orleans. And so when people ask you, when people find out you from New Orleans, they're automatically going to ask you, which part of New Orleans are you from? And they're asking you, like, what ward you from? Okay. So I'm from the ninth ward. So the people from the ninth ward have a really, really strong reputation of being extremely violent, extremely cutthroat. Would we have a it's not in a bad way though. It's like, if you do something to us, we gonna do something back to you, and we gonna do something back to your family, and it's gonna keep going, it's gonna keep going, it's gonna keep going. So people usually don't mess with us. Okay, so I do still have that in me, but y'all know, if y'all watch my post on my video on sobriety from anger, rage, and revenge, and lalakesia, and all of that type of stuff, I'm really actively working on it, and I have still been maintaining sobriety from that. But that is where that comes from, because you had to be that way. So they asked me where I was from, and I was like, well, I'm from the ninth ward. And the first thing this clown said to me was, oh, you from the projects. And it never even registered in my mind that people would associate being from the 9 by living in the projects, because literally everybody who was in my area, in my vicinity, Black folks, they own their homes. So it was none of this. It was none of this evictions and all of this type of stuff. It was just none of that going on. No foreclosures, none of that. So that's something that I'm really thankful for, that I didn't grow up in that. Okay. But at the same time, it was still a very traumatic environment, just because of the environment at that time. It was, the 90s. It was the height of the drug wars, crack in particular. Then I had the issues going on at home, the maternal lineage abuse. So it was just a lot of that just created this false identity that I had attached to. Because even though we were in situations where everybody on the block and everybody in the area, they essentially owned their homes, it was still that struggle story that was being pushed and being told to me. That was something that was deeply implanted inside of my subconscious mind that I'm still actively working on moving through. And I didn't realize how bad it was until I became an attorney. So that is one thing that I'm very proud of myself, is that I actually recognize the things that happened to me, and I'm actively working on removing them, from my life, so I don't carry that on epigenetically, because epigenetics are real. It don't matter if you don't believe in it or not. That's science. It's scientific fact. So epigenetically, I don't want to carry that on from the maternal line. Also, definitely don't want to carry on the maternal lineage abuse as well. I'm in a very peculiar situation, because growing up, I never had dreams of getting married and having children. So thankfully, I can say that that's something that's really not attached to me, and I don't really have that hanging over my head. I remember when I was young that I always just wanted to be powerful. I wanted to get, do the education track, go that route. I wanted to travel the world. I do remember that I just wanted to be really wealthy and really powerful. That was something that I just always wanted. So if I decide to ever get married and have children, it will be a triple blessing because I'm actively working on, removing all of the negative stories that have been fed to me from the maternal abuse. And my paternal side, they're not immune and they're not excused from, their foolishness as well. But the fact that I was so connected to the plantation through my paternal side, I still grasped onto this identity that, and if you go back and you watch my post about the ancestor worship and how it ruined my life, I didn't mean it in a way, and I know I said that in that video, but I didn't mean it in a way to where I still don't honor and venerate my ancestors. It's just only certain ones at this point, because I felt that in order for me to be close to them, in order for me to do X, Y, and Z, that I had to struggle, that I had to constantly, just like this battle, just banging on a beast. It was really crazy. It was this thirst that I had to always, I'm telling y'all, like, it was the same exact situation with the addiction that I had to anger, rage, and revenge and retaliation, that struggle. Because I just felt connected. I felt that that's what made me black. Like, that's what solidified my blackness. Like, always struggling, always sticking it to the man, always, banging on a beast. And I was dead serious. Like, I would crave the struggle. I would crave the lack because it gave me something to talk about. It gave me something to connect with other black people. And that is living under a false authority and a false identities. Okay? The only way that was a trauma bond. The only way that I felt that I could connect with black folks was to be in the struggle mode. Like, yeah, they sticking it to you, girl. The taxes, can't pay my bills, can't do this, can't do that. I gotta struggle, gotta scratch and survive. If it felt good, I would get a dopamine release. And now I realize how insane that was. God does not want us to be in this position. He does not want me to assume an identity of struggle, lack, scarcity, failure. God does not want that for me. He doesn't. Okay? It doesn't matter that I'm black. Like, he does not want that for me. So this is something that I was dealing with way before I even met the conscious community. And my issue that I had, it is what it is. I've accepted a full responsibility for, finding the conscious community and dealing with them. Hold on one sec.